story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Frank Homalape. Our top stories tonight. Boko Haram insurgents attack Maiduguri mosques, leaves many dead. Also in this program, President Muhammad Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo declares asset. And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo confident Buhari administration will heal Nigeria. Outside Nigeria, massive earthquake rattles Japan, tremors felt across the nation. Thank you for joining us tonight. An unconfirmed number of persons have lost their lives while several others sustained injuries when Boko Haram insurgents struck at Maiduguri, capital of Borno State, on Saturday. A security source says the first attack happened between 1 a.m. and 2:20 a.m., while other occurred around 3 a.m. at a mosque in the town. 5 residents reportedly died during the attack, while the casualties among the militants is yet to be ascertained. Unconfirmed reports also claim that 10 persons were killed in the areas that the attack happened. A member of the Youth Vigilance Group who spoke on the condition of not being identified on Saturday says some insurgents attempted to invade the troubled town at about 12:50 a.m. on Saturday from the Artillery Cross and Bintu Sugar areas of the town. He says the soldiers quickly responded and engaged them before they could advance and overrun the town. The source added that the fight lasted for about 2 hours, subsiding at about 2:50 a.m. He could not, however, ascertain the number of casualties. A resident of Gomare, part of Maiduguri, which is in the same neighborhood with Bintu Sugar, Ibrahim Ilya, said 5 residents of the area were killed in the attempted invasion. Ilya said a stray bullet killed a man who was sleeping in the open as a result of the harsh weather. He wrote that 4 people were killed in a house which was affected by the explosion in the area. And our President Muhammad Buhari has condemned the latest the report of terrorist attack on Maiduguri, Borno State capital. In a statement by the head of his media team, Garba Shehu, the president warned that his administration won't tolerate wanton and willful destruction of life by criminal elements that are bent on anarchy. He said his administration meant business in its determination to tackle terrorism with all the resources available to his government. Describing terrorists as cowardly murderers that target innocent people, Buhari explained that as the commander-in-chief, he has wanted to protect the security of Nigerians everywhere. The president, while calling for increased vigilance by local communities, assured that his administration will give security close attention and that his government was committed to boosting the morale of the armed forces by effectively funding them and attending to their welfare. He condoled with the families of the victims on the latest terrorist attack on Maiduguri and assured them that the worst days of the criminal elements will soon be over. And our Borno State Governor Kashim Shettima has called on the residents of the state to close ranks and reposition the state to overcome the effects of years of insurgency. Shettima made the call shortly after he was sworn in as the executive governor of Borno State for a second term. The State Chief Judge, Justice Kashim Zana, administered the oath of office and allegiance on the governor, and his deputies are now Maru Mustafa, resident of Maiduguri, Borno State capital, overwhelmed by an internally displaced person, defied the feeling of insecurity associated with public gatherings to witness the ceremony of his years of democracy. As at yesterday, the ceremony was adequately secured by officers comprising of the Joint Security Task Force and the civilian JTF. Governor Shettima expressed confidence that the Muhammad Buhari-led presidency will empathize with the current insurgency facing the state. Shettima also expressed his intention to invest heavily on agriculture and education. And as after the presidential inauguration ceremony in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, the UK Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond says his country stands ready and willing to help in the fight against the Boko Haram. The terrorist group has carried out a series of attacks on communities in Nigeria's northeast and is highly suspected to have carried out a twin blast in Borno State early Friday morning. In an interview in Abuja, the Foreign Secretary said the UK is willing to help restructure and train Nigeria's security personnel and also provide additional intelligence and surveillance capability for Nigeria's security forces. He also said the UK would also work with the new administration on its economic program. President Muhammad Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo have declared their assets to the Code of Conduct Bureau required by the Constitution. The head of Buhari's media team, Garba Shehu, in a statement said the President and Vice President submitted their assets declaration forms separately. Shehu added that the CCB, through its chairman, Sam Saba, acknowledged the receipt of the forms. He says Buhari's declarant identity was given as President 00001 and 2015. Shehu, however, did not disclose the contents of the asset declaration forms. By declaring their asset, President Buhari and Vice President Osinbajo may have not only fulfilled the requirements of the Nigerian Constitution, but also fulfilled the first of their many campaign promises, according to him. The Nigerian Constitution states in Chapter 6, Section 140, that a person elected to the office of President shall not begin to perform the functions of that office until he has declared his asset and liabilities as prescribed in the Constitution. Meanwhile, President Muhammad Buhari has warned security operatives at the airports against stopping former government officials from traveling abroad. The warning comes against the backdrop of cases of what were described as VIP stoppages at some airports. President Buhari said in a statement issued by his media office that officials of past administration, including ministers, should not be subjected to harassment at the airports or at other points of entry and exit. He insisted that no one has his permission to bar anyone from traveling. The president also directed officials at the borders and other points of entry and exit to conduct their affairs in strict compliance with due process. And President Muhammad Buhari on Friday evening appealed to Nigerians to be patient with this administration as he and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo begins the earnest work of reconstructing the country. He says the appeal is necessary because of the collateral damage that had been done to the system before the new team comes on board. Buhari made the appeal in his remarks at the inauguration gala night held at the Old Banquet Hall of the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The event took place a few hours after he and Osinbajo took their oath of office and oath of allegiance before Nigerians at the Eagle Square in Abuja, where he promised to be the president of all. The president said the enormous damage inflicted on the country could easily be appreciated by comparing the nation's infrastructure in 1999 with what currently prevails. Buhari also regretted the high rate of unemployment among youth, who he said represented about 60% of the country's population. Osinbajo, the governor of Nigeria, says the election of President Buhari was God's plan to turn. Let's move away from that now to other stories now. Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the election of the President Muhammadu Buhari was God's plan to turn things around for good and heal Nigeria through the new administration. He insists the just concluded election was ordained by God for the sole purpose of assisting Buhari to build a nation that will be admired by other nations of the world. Osinbajo made the issue section during a Thanksgiving service held at the National Christian Center, Abuja. The service was organized for the Vice President, members of his family, friends, and political associates to thank God for the success of his inauguration held on Friday. The Vice President family, friends, and well-wishers were at the service thanking God for how far he had brought them in the service of their fatherland. In his sermon, the preacher for the day says the combination of Osinbajo and Buhari through the breed was not ordinary and urged them to let Nigeria pray and special anointing for them. Some of the special guests said the President and the Vice President have started on a sound footing with the Thanksgiving. Some of the dignitaries at the service were the Governor of Osun State, Ralph Aregbesola, a former Minister of Education, Obi Ezekwesili, and Professor Chris Imafidon, who is a media consultant. And now the nation stood still for President Muhammadu Buhari during his inauguration as party faithfuls across the nation made it to the Eagle Square in Abuja for the historic handover ceremony. But for those who had no opportunity of being in Abuja, all hope was not lost as they celebrated the inauguration in their own way. Even in Ekiti State, under the firm grip of the opposition party, the PDP APC members gathered at Omuo Ekiti as a signal optimism of a change in government of the state in the nearest future. Our correspondent Rashid has details. Well, we'll bring you that story later in our subsequent bulletin. You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. After the break, Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode meets with permanent secretaries, calls for continued support. The deals after this time out.
Women share the most amazing thoughts on national issues, and they do it passionately.
For most men that are educated, that are exposed, will see nothing to it.
The population and the level of poverty made me cry. No infrastructural development whatsoever. And you tell me Lagos is working?
That was an accident, and it was a one-off thing. Other than that, there has never been any situation in Nigeria where a Nigerian attacked anybody just because of where they came from.
Sharing the adorable word of women in politics every week, only on CoreTV News.
You're also watching CoreTV Primetime News live from our Lagos studio. A quick reminder of our top stories. Boko Haram insurgents attack Maiduguri mosques, leaves many dead. President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo declares asset. And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo confident Buhari administration will heal Nigeria. All our top stories can be found on our social media platforms, like our Facebook page is facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at CoreTV News NG. For live streaming, log on to youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave a space, the news. And to our earlier story now, the nation stood still for President Muhammadu Buhari during his inauguration as party faithfuls across the nation made it to the Eagle Square in Abuja for the historic handover ceremony. But for those who had no opportunity of being in Abuja, all hope was not lost as they celebrated inauguration in their own way. Our correspondent Rashid reports.
This was the mood in Omu-Ekiti as these APC members watched on a large screen President Buhari's inauguration ceremony. Though not present in Abuja, they choose not to be left out in the inauguration celebration. Party stalwarts say it is the best they can do for their members to have the feel and taste of victory.
We know most of our members will not be able to go to Abuja to attend the ceremony, and therefore, BAFEM organization was the opinion that since something is happening presently in Ekiti, people must be here to felicitate with each other for the victory of APC and General Buhari in the polls.
With the APC forming the central government, Ekiti State is now in the opposition. This, according to top echelon of the APC, will not affect the fortune of Ekiti State at the federal level.
That is for everybody and for nobody. So he's the president of all. Either we're in opposition or we are in the mainstream, we will be treated fairly and equally, as we assured some of us.
Still basking in the victory of the APC, former Speaker of the Ekiti State House of Assembly, Femi Bamishile, says the era of impunity may be over in Nigeria, which insists may signal change in the state soonest.
Governed by Ayodele Fayose from the People's Democratic Party. Unfortunately, this gentleman has raped the entire constitution from beginning to the end. I know our party would not take any manner of disregard to the constitution of Nigeria. And I want to assure you, be it in the immediate or the nearest future, there's going to be a change in Ekiti State.
With the governor of Aushi still locking hands with the 19 APC lawmakers, political observers say the impeachment war may still be far from over, even with a few days left for the lawmakers. Rashid, CoreTV News, Omu-Ekiti.
Rivers State Governor Wike Nyesom has appointed Daisy Okocha as Chief Judge of the state and also ordered the reopening of all courts in the state. The state judiciary has been engulfed in crisis since the retirement of Iche Undu as Chief Judge in August 2013. After Undu retired, former Governor Rotimi Amechi forwarded the name of Peter Agumagu, former president of the Customary Court of Appeal, to the National Judiciary Council for consideration as Undu's successor, but the NJC, which preferred Okocha, rejected Amechi's candidate. The issue resulted to a series of litigation which eventually paralyzed the judiciary. But speaking shortly after his swearing-in ceremony at the Liberation Stadium in Port Harcourt on Friday, Governor Wike appointed Okocha as new Chief Judge of the state and would be sworn in by 8 a.m. on Monday. Wike also announced that some lecturers of the Rivers State University of Science and Technology who were dismissed by Amechi's government have been reinstated. He assured the people of security of lives and property in the state. Kate Abere, the Chief Judge of Bayelsa State, administered the oath of office on Wike, and Ipalibo Banigo, his deputy. And now, Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode on Saturday held his inaugural meeting with the body of permanent secretaries in the state public service, where he explained that the state civil service will drive the change and the continuity which he intends to put in place in the next 4 years. The governor, who spoke at the Lagos House, Alausa, said he intends to strengthen the civil service and continue with the reforms through which he will carry out his policies. He urged the permanent secretaries who are in administrative heads of the ministries to see themselves as front-runners of the present administration, adding that he would take advantage of the experience he had gathered as a retired public servant. Ambode disclosed that new offices will be created while existing ones will be streamlined in order to ensure that cost of governance was reduced while ensuring greater efficiency. Ambode stressed that he will saddle the body of permanent secretary with the task of taking a look at the draft which the administration of former Governor Babatunde Fashola could not conclude work on, and which he had gone through but streamlined according to his vision. A newly inaugurated governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, has again restated his readiness to promote tourism, entertainment, arts, and sport as part of the plans for excellence in his tenure. Governor Ambode reviewed these at an inaugural dinner at a hotel and suites to mark his inauguration as Lagos State Governor. Our correspondent Patience Ajiboye was there and now completes the report.
It was a night of fun, glitz and glamour at the inaugural dinner of Governor Akinwumi Ambode as he was surrounded by family, friends and well-wishers. In attendance was the Lagos business community, members of the Guild of Nigerian Actors, musical artists, and APC stalwarts in the state. Former Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, and his deputy, Adejoke Orelope, as well as Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Oluranti Adebule, were also present with their spouses to commemorate the graceful event. Fashola, who gave the toast, says, Lagos has become a name to be reckoned with globally for its industrial repute. In his toast, he thanked the people of Lagos, traditional rulers, public servants, and women for their support in making Lagos what it is today.
A toast to Lagos will be a toast to a new beginning, to APC, to change. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, can you please rise and drink to this toast to our great state?
Governor Ambode also thanked Lagos residents for their support and asked for the continued cooperation of all to keep the state soaring.
The kind of collaboration that we've had, we want each and every one of us to come together, start to propel the ideas that can give us an ideal Lagos.
Members of the Lagos State Council for Art and Culture also entertained guests, while contemporary artists Dami Crane and Olamide thrilled the guests. Lagos' newest first and second couples, as well as the former, also made a show of themselves while they danced together with Lagos Central Senator and former First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu. Patience Ajiboye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Well, a celebrated moment there. Away from there to Kano now, the Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje has dissolved the State Executive Council and has also relieved all political office holders of their appointments. The announcement of the dissolution of the cabinet was made through the Secretary to the State Governor, Rabiu Bichi. The dissolution affected all commissioners, special advisors, senior special assistants, and special assistants. The governor commended the officers for their various contributions to the development of the state. The outgoing commissioners were directed to hand over the affairs of their ministries to their respective permanent secretaries. The immediate past governor of Delta State, Emmanuel Udoha, has urged people in the state to support the Governor Ifeanyi Cowell's-led administration. Udoha made the appeal at the Thanksgiving service held in his honor at the First Baptist Church in Warri, Delta State. He says the success of the governor was the success of the state and urged them to give the governor their full loyalty. Udoha will read his text from Exodus 8:16-19. Also urged the people to beware of rumor mongers, which he said were fast increasing by the day. He thanks the people of Delta, especially the spiritual fathers and traditional rulers, for their support and wisdom. In response, Governor Okowa says his administration will forever remember Udoha for the good legacy he left behind in the state. Okowa urged the people of Delta, especially the spiritual fathers, to pray for his administration and not to shy away. He also promised to partner the traditional rulers, whom he says are closer to the grassroots. And now to a bit of, entrepreneurship now. Male hairstylists have become a force to be reckoned with as they almost overtake the women counterpart in the hairdressing trade. In this special report by Patience Ajiboye, some Lagos residents state their preference for either male or female hairstyles and give reasons for their choice.
Traditionally, hairmaking has been an occupation reserved for the women folk, with mothers naturally grooming and plaiting the hair of their daughters from birth. And as the daughters grow up, they learn from their mothers as they make the hair of younger siblings and then make it a means of extra income when they make for schoolmates. In recent times, however, the art of hairmaking has not just had men interested in it, but has seen male hairdressers fast taking over the art. Although It is generally believed that men charge much more than female stylists. Ladies prefer to patronize them as they believe they have a touch of expertise, and unlike female stylists, do not mix their business with petty talks and so give all the attention to work when it comes. Most women would therefore rather have a male stylist, and even men would rather have their women's hair be made by a male stylist. Some others, however, would not consent to it for any reason.
Female stylists, they are good at what they do, and male stylists are now very, very good. They're now professional than male, than female.
It doesn't make sense now. Why will my girlfriend sit down and the guy is painting her hair? It looks odd. I wouldn't allow it.
If the lady prefers the guy making her hair, so that's her choice. So I don't have an issue with that.
Some men, where they care, where learn, where have understanding, they can make hair very beautiful than women's.
I wouldn't like a guy to make hair for me because I prefer a lady to make hair for me. I'm more comfortable with the female stylist. Like, I tell her what I want to do and I feel she'll understand me more.
For this male hairstylists, it is a passion that is being very well utilized, especially since many women have agreed that they make hair better than female stylists.
I found myself as a stylist because it's what I've been liking to do right from time. So, and I think that's where area where I'm talented. You know, I find it easy for me to do. So that's why I go into it.
It's always higher compared to what the female counterpart will charge. You know, based on the fact that they feel that the male will always do better than the female. You know, that we are more skilled and we have all the patience, and as a matter of fact, we can deliver a very good job. So in most cases, women prefer us than to patronize their female counterparts.
With the growing influx of more men in the art of hair making, the popular cliche of what a man can do, a woman can do better, may be reversed in favor of the men in this case. Patience Ajiboye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Is it about a man can do better in women's business now? Well, you're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. We take another break. When we come back, it'll be time for business, sports, and stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
And in business now, a turnover of 1.79 billion shares worth of 22.1 billion naira in 17,337 deals were traded this week by investors on the floor of the exchange, in contrast to a total of 2.943 billion shares valued at 16.04 billion naira that exchanged hands last week in 21,306 deals. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.5 billion shares valued at 8.8 billion naira traded in 10,394 deals, thus contributing 85.9% and 40.24% to the total equity turnover volume and value respectively. The services industry followed with a turnover of 84.1 million shares worth of 120.5 million naira in 497 deals. The third place was occupied by the consumer goods industry with 76.8 million shares of worth 9.3 billion naira in 2,899 deals. Trading in the top three equities, namely United Bank for Africa PLC, West African Provincial Insurance and Access Bank PLC. London prices jumped once again on supply fears in West Africa and Asia, hitting a new four-year peak at £2,131 or euro per ton on cocoa. Ideas that dry and hot weather could hurt meat crop production in West Africa, and that could halt Asian production, provided reasons to buy. Analysts said the El Nino weather phenomenon is an abnormal warming of surface ocean waters in the eastern Pacific, which occurs every 2 to 7 years and sparked drought in some areas and flooding in others. By Friday, on leave, London's future exchange cocoa for delivery in July gained to €2,126 a ton for €2,099 a week earlier. On the ICE futures, U.S. exchange cocoa for July eased to $3,121, turned from $3,160. And to commodity markets now, sports gold price fell to $1,180 an ounce this week, the lowest since May 11, before recovering slightly. Gold demand across Asia was subdued this week, with premiums in major trading centers failing to see any uptick despite a drop in the metals prices to a 2-1 week low, as the strength in dollar and equities kept consumers away. China was the top consumer of gold in the first quarter of the year and the second biggest after India last year. In Tokyo, prices continue to remain at a discount of 21 cents to 50 cents an ounce due to the softness in yen. Oil prices are likely to stay relatively weak for the rest of this year due to ample supply from traditional Middle East producers and a resurgence of the U.S. shale production. A Reuters survey forecast on Friday. A 28 analysts predicted the global oil benchmark Northeast Brent crude will average at $61 a barrel in 2015, close to current levels. So far this year, Brent has averaged close to $58 a barrel, down from almost $100 in 2014. Brent is expected to rise to $70.90 next year and $75.90 in 2017. The poll shows as well. The poll forecasts U.S. light crude to average at $55.60 a barrel this year and $65.90 in 2016 so far. Meanwhile, oil prices sank this week to one-month lows on the back of the strong dollar and global supply glut fears ahead of the OPEC cartel output meeting next week. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, is likely to decide at its meeting in Vienna next week, June 5, to keep its joint production target unchanged at 30 million barrels per day, but maintain output above that level. And in sports now, Arsenal retain the FA Cup as they proved to be far too strong for Aston Villa at Wembley. Theo Walcott opened the scoring with a powerful finish before Alexis Sanchez doubled the lead with a stunning strike from distance early in the second period. Mertesacker met the game save with a header soon after, before substitute Oliver Giroud added a late fourth as the Gunners became the most successful side in the competition's history with 12 wins. Perhaps wary of repeating last season's disastrous start against Hull City, we saw them go 2 goals behind. Arsene Wenger's side began on the front foot in a frenetic opening 10 minutes and gradually cranked up the pressure on Shea Given's goal with a series of corners and set pieces. Former England captain Rio Ferdinand has retired from football days after being released by Queen's Park Rangers. The 36-year-old said it was the right time to retire from the game he loved. In a statement, he said the London-born Ferdinand, who had 12 years at Manchester United after spells with West Ham and Leeds, last played for QPR in March. In the statement, he paid tribute to his wife Rebecca Ellison, who died from breast cancer on May 1st, announcing his retirement. Ferdinand said, after 18 years as a professional footballer, I now feel it's the right time for me to retire from the game that I love, end of quote. Ferdinand began his career under Redknapp at West Ham and had a short loan spell at Bournemouth before making his England debut at the age of 19 in 1997. He joined Leeds for £18 million in 2000 and then moved to Manchester United 2 years later in a deal worth £29.1 million, which at the time was a world record fee for a defender. Former England striker Michael Owen, who also played alongside Ferdinand at Old Trafford, tweeted, "What a player he was, absolute Rolls Royce." And Super Eagles now talking about before leaving for Kaduna, the Eagles are expected to get involved in some corporate social work and also engage with their fans and the media. The Super Eagles will arrive to Kaduna for next month 2017 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Chad on Sunday, June 7. The team will stay at the Africa Continental Hotel in Kaduna. Coach Stephen Ketchi, while unveiling his team's program, said the Super Eagles will conclude their training in Abuja next weekend and proceed to Kaduna for the final phase of preparations ahead of all-important encounter. Before leaving for Kaduna, the Eagles are expected to get involved in some corporate social work and also engage with their fans and the media. According to the programs outlined for the Super Eagles, there will be a parley with the media at the team's camp, both in white hotels and apartments in Abuja on Friday, June 5 at 11 a.m., while the open section with the fans and social work will hold the next day, Saturday, June 6, before the team's training section at the National Stadium in Abuja. And defending champion Maria Sharapova reached the French Open last 16 on Friday, although she appeared on the verge of tears at the end of her straight set win over Samantha Stosur. The world number 2 met the fourth round for the 11th time with a 6-3, 6-4 win over the 26th-seeded Australian. It was the Russian's 15th win in 70 matches against Stosur, who she defeated in a street set Paris Marathon last year. Sharapova admitted that her continuing struggles with a cold, which saw her coughing for large parts of the match, contributed to her emotional state at the end. Sharapova, also the champion in face check 13-seed Louise Savarova for a place in the quarterfinals. And outside Nigeria now, Japan earthquake, a powerful undersea earthquake south of Japan has shaken buildings in Tokyo. The U.S. Geological Survey said the 7.8 magnitude earthquake was centered almost 100 or 874 kilometers from the Japanese capital at a depth of almost 700 kilometers. It struck at 18:30 local time. Buildings in the capital swayed for almost a minute as the quake built an intense city. A news agency reported that there are no reports of serious damage or casualties. No tsunami warning has been issued. And now re-elected FIFA President Sepp Blatter proceedings launch against officials at World Football's governing body. 7 officials and associates were arrested in Zurich earlier this week as FIFA gathered for its Congress. Blatter, 79, described the issue as infractions involving a marketing company operating in the Americas. He is not named in the indictment and denies having anything to do with an alleged $10 million bribe asked by a reporter at a news conference whether he authorized the payment allegedly relating to the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. He says, "Definitely, that's not me." He again questioned the timing of the U.S. prosecutor, saying his organization could have been contacted at another time rather than just before its Congress assembled. Blatter beat Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan in Friday's election and is starting his 5th four-year term as president. Well, it has it on CoreTV Primetime News tonight, but just before we go, a recap of our major headline. We told you that Boko Haram insurgents attacked Maiduguri mosques, leaves many dead. We also reported that President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo declares asset. And finally tonight, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo confidence Buhari administration will heal Nigeria. And that's it tonight. Many thanks for watching. On behalf of the entire school, I am Frank Omalape. Have a good night rest.